corporate systems and creativity. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm actually going to play a video that was on Instagram, and it's a clip out of one of Jordan Peterson's talks. I'm not sure if you've heard of Jordan Peterson or not. You've probably seen him around. Relatively controversial person, says a lot of wild things, whether you agree or disagree with him. This is one of those that I wanted to toss out there and kind of discuss because it has a lot to do with what we talk about when we're talking about business. Take a watch at this real quick.
Do employers look for creative people?
No, not generally. There's increasing demand in corporations for creative people, but the problem with being creative is that you're useless at the bottom of the dominance hierarchy. You're not there to think outside the box. You're there to learn what you're supposed to do and implement it. And creative people, that isn't what they do. What happens, though, to companies is that because they filter all the creative people out at the bottom, and then people start to rise up to the top, you really need creative people at the top because they are the entrepreneurial types, and they're the ones, for example, in law firms, the more entrepreneurial ones are the ones that bring in all the business. But it's also very difficult to nurse them within any system because systems do not nurture creativity. Because the artist is always the person who stands outside the structure, or maybe builds his or her own structure, which is also why it's hard to evaluate creative people. You can't. If they're operating within the confines of a system that has an evaluative structure, they're not creative.
So that's it. That's really the question is, does the typical corporate structure with the top-down issue that businesses eventually, if they're growing, they eventually become somewhat of that structure, does it stifle creativity? Does it automatically tend to destroy itself by having a lack of creativity because it can't have it within the system that it ends up building? I think that's true. I think it's pretty tough to disagree. If you've worked in any type of large corporate business, if they are not relatively broken up into subsections and have, in a sense, smaller companies within a company, if they don't work that way, then what you end up having is creativity being stifled. You have a certain amount of creativity at the top, at least early on, and then over time, because they get very good at doing a certain thing, it gets to be kind of a rote process to where people don't necessarily believe it. They do it because that's what they were taught, and they were taught what they were taught, and so on and so on. It goes on, and then as people rise up to the company, like Jordan Peterson said, you end up with a lack of creative personalities. You take away a whole lot of that spark that created the company to begin with, because entrepreneurs have to have that creativity, but they also need system in order to allow for growth. So it's a balancing act. It's a dichotomy, and it's something that all people that run businesses need to watch for if they care about the long-term lifespan of their business. So it's something to keep in mind as you're growing ahead. There's ways around it, but it's a balancing act. This is just part of life. It's the same reason why government does not sponsor creativity, any type of heavy government work, and it can't really, if you think about it. Who are the most creative people within government tend to end up being dictators, really. I mean, if they're really creative, if they're really being outgoing, they're either being dictators or they become absolute heroes. But either way, they're relatively revolutionary, and that could be extremely good when you have a government that's overblown. It could be extremely bad when you have a government that becomes overblown because of them. So these are all things that you have to keep in mind, but no matter what, it's a structural system thing. And the more you have a system that is universal throughout a company, it starts to lose its life force. It starts to lose its positive energy, and because of that, you get these dead corporations that just, they function, but they function from an old soul. They function from the past. It's a weird thing, but it's definitely true. You will see it if you work in enough different style businesses. It's guaranteed you will run into this. The thing is to realize there is a way out. There are ways to counteract it, and And I can't even go into any more detail of that for tonight, but go check out my book, 9 Ways to Amazon Proof Your Business. This is a way to be able to fight those large corporate behemoths before they completely overtake your business. 9 Ways to Amazon Proof Your Business will not only stop Amazon.com from defeating you, it will stop any of the big boys on the block from pulling down your business. This is a way for you to be able to stand out and have zero competition in the future. Go get yourself a copy. You buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on any of the major bookstores online, or you can go download a free copy over at my website, AmazonProofBook.com. That's all I have for tonight. You have a good one. We'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and let the magic happen.